In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with PostgreSQL. And in the last video, I already show you how to install PostGIS and Qgis, and also how to load some spatial data and non-spatial data into PostGIS. So before we get into the spatial functionality of PostGIS, I would like to show you some of the functionality of Postgres for non-spatial data. So this is what we're going to talk about in this video. And I created a repo for some of the sample script that we're going to use here in this video, and also the sample data set. You can go to the website postgis.gshub.org, and you should be navigate to this repository. Then you can download, for example, the sample data set to your computer. I'm going to just download this one here, CSV. Then you can go to the raw button, and you should be able to download this one to your computer. So it's a CSV. You can download to anywhere you like. Just click save, and then we can open, for example, Qgis. So I'm going to open Qgis. Then we can load the data into Qgis, and we can do some query using this sample data set. I'm also going to open PGAdmin. So this is where we're going to do all the spatial, non-spatial query, basically SQL statements that we can write using the web interface, and then we can query the data from the CSV. Okay, so Qgis is open. Then we can, if you want, you can open a new project if you want. Then go to database, DB manager. And so in the last video, we already connect the Qgis to the PostGIS database. So the database is named SDB and then public. So here we already have some sample data set. I'm going to basically import the CSV that we just downloaded. So what we can do here is to first, we can add the CSV to Qgis. So click layer, add vector layer. And then you can navigate to the CSV under your the downloads folder. Then just click these cities. So once it's open, you can accept all the default settings. Just click add and close. Right click. You can take a look at the attribute table. So it has a couple of columns: the ID, the name, and the city, country, longitude, latitude, and longitude, and also the population. So this is what we're going to use in this the video. Then once it's loaded into Qgis, we can open the DB manager. Then we can import this one into the database. Click import. So its input is the cities. So this one is automatically from the table of content here. Then you can accept the default settings to import this one to the public schema, and just click OK. Import was successful. Then we can close. So in here right now, if you click this one, you should be able to see this one here, cities. And we can just, if you want, you can click this one to import into Canvas. So this one is the original one. Let me remove the layer. This new layer right now is from the PostGIS. So if you right click, you should be able to see, for example, update SQL layer. That means right now this one is coming from the database. You can open. It should look pretty much similar to what we did earlier. Okay, so once we have the dataset, then we can use PGAdmin to do some spatial query. So I'm going to minimize this one and also close. Once you open a PGAdmin, you might need to enter the password. Okay, so I'm going to enter the password. Then on the left here, click server and go to SDB. So here on the tables, you should be able to see the one we imported. So it's called cities, right? So if you right click, expand this, you should be able to see the columns and also some other items. We can just right click, and if you want, you can also open this one, right click, then view data, all rows. So if you click, you should be able to see exactly all the records for this data set. Here, these are all the source code used to basically to display. So anything you are doing here within the PGAdmin behind the scene is using some SQL statements or syntax to execute the operation. And So next, let's open this one and then click properties. So we can take a look at the properties for this table. On the left here, on the first one here is the general. So you have the name, you can change the name if you want, right? And everything else you just keep as default. The second one here is columns, right? So for each column, it's going to have a unique ID. So ID, for example, you can capture. So the ID actually, this one should be integer rather than a character, right? Also here the population, maybe longitude and latitude, this should be actually, so when it's imported into the database, sometimes it will not recognize the data type of the specific column. Then we can make some changes. So this is what we're going to do here, is the first step, because later when we do some query, we want to query by number, not by character. For example, population, if you want to select a city with population larger than 1 million, if you use the character, it cannot recognize. You cannot select by greater than or greater than, less than, or equal than, right? So we need to make sure that we change this type. You cannot directly change the data type here using the pgadmin. So we need to do some special query to make the changes. Again, you can go to the repository PostGIS on my GitHub, under my GitHub account, and in the first example here, I show you how to change the column type. So if you see from here, alter, table, and cities. Oh, by the way, so there's also another one, useful resources. If you click this one, W3 schools, if you open, you should be able to look at this one here. This is a very nice and very simple, straightforward tutorial for SQL statements. So you can go through some of those. What we're going to talk about here in this video actually comes from maybe the first 10 to 15 sections. You can also run this one directly in the on this website. So if you, for example, if you try it by yourself and then you just run SQL, it will query and send the results. So this one using the sample dataset customers. But in this video, we're going to use the cities CSV. So again, let's go back to here. And first, you can, if you, right now, this is just something that we need to do before we do the query. So I'm just going to copy this one and then come back to the pgadmin. You can right click here and click query to. You can also click here tools and then query to. They're the same. So I'm going to right click, and then if you click the query to, you will be presented with the query editor, and this is where we can write the query. You can just directly paste what we did earlier. So alter table, right? We're going to change the table and also alter the column. And the column, the name of the column is population. We want to change it to type in. And if you don't, for example, if you don't type this one, if you click this one here, this is to execute, or you can press F5 to execute this one. It will show you that, okay, the column cannot be cast automatically to type integer. You might need to specify something like that, and this is what we need to do. Then we can just click. You see here, query returns successfully. And then if you right click again, go to columns. Now you should see this one, integer. So this is how we can change the data type for a specific column. We can also do it, for example, for ID, right? And also for latitude and longitude, because these are the columns that we want to change. For example, we can also do it for ID and just one. Cannot create, it is picky, it's duplicate. So we might already have one in here. Okay, maybe just change the latitude. And also the longitude. Oh, it should not be in, it should be float. Okay. So this one we want to change to float. And also the latitude. Then we can right click and then open this one, columns. Okay, so now we have changed this to floating point. If we want, we can also open and then view data, view all rows. So if you click, now we should be able to see all the rows and number in here, right? All these number. So you can scroll down. This is over 1,200 lines of record. So once we have this data table, let me just close the some of these in here. You can right click and then remove panel, right click, remove panel, don't save. Okay. So next, let's do some query. So we can, this is something, for example, if you're using an Excel spreadsheet, if you're trying to query data, you need to maybe sort by column and then select. But SQL is way more flexible, and you can create some basically a view, basically a virtual table that we don't have to actually create one, and you are able to see all the results. So for example, when we view the data, you can see all the records in here. But we can also do a lot of query. So you can go to the PostGIS, and these are some of the things that we're going to go through here in this video, how to do that one by one, how to select the data, how to sort the data. Okay, so first let's come back to here again, and then right click query tool. So I'm going to do some query. The first one here is very common, is to look at the data set. And so earlier you can right click and then view data, all rows, right? This is how you can do the data. But you can also select from here, select star from. Keep that in mind, SQL is non-case sensitive, so you can use lowercase or uppercase, but the convention is to use uppercase for any SQL reserved keywords. So these are reserved, select from something, and the star means all columns. Basically select all the fields from that data. So once you type from and then space on your keyboard, you can press Control space. So if you press Control space, it's going to show you a list of data sets like you can select, right? So from the database right now we have cities and others. So we're going to use the first one. You can directly type cities, it's fine, but sometimes if you have a long table name, you might want to just Control space so they can select. Once you have this, then you can just press F5 to execute. You should be able to see exactly the same result, similar to what you did earlier. Right click and all rows is the same. Also, for example, from here you can just type public. Public is basically the schema, so you PU and then you Control space, it's going to show you, and then cities, and then use Control space. So you don't have to use the schema, but if you put in one, it's what same. Public, no, this one. Okay, so it looks like it doesn't need it. You can, when you use public, you might need to use point and then double quotes, but to make things easier, we just use the cities. So now you should get the result. This is basically select all the data, display the data. If you just want, for example, if your data table has tens of millions of rows or records, you just want to take a look at the first view, you can do that with well. So at the end here, you can just type limit. Okay, limit, for example, I just want to take a look at the first 10. You just limit 10 and then just hit 1. It will only show you the 10 records. So this is how easy it can show all the records, or just the first couple of those. And the star here, this one is showing you, for example, display all the columns. If you just want some of the columns, you don't want all of them, you can do that as well. So you can select here the name of the column. For example, I just want to show the name and the country. You can do that as well. So it will be just name. So if you type name and then Control space, it will also show you like what you can select from here, double quotes. But usually you don't have to use double quotes. I can just name and then country. F5, right? You can select these two columns. So this is how you can quickly narrow down the data. The next one is that we can also select, for example, let me show you here, don't use the limit. So this one we have a country, right? As you can see, like some of the countries has multiple cities, so you're going to get multiple records for each country. How about this? We just want all the countries, all the unique names, right? So you basically get a list of all the countries. You can do that using this one here. It's called select and then distinct. So distinct, it means basically unique, distinct, and then from this column, so will be country, okay, and then F5. Now you see all the countries, and over, for example, 200 countries. So this is how you can get just the unique, basically a unique set of values within that column. You can also count. So in here we have 200, right? So if you see, it's going to get you the tail, but you can also get the number. So if you want to get the number, you can use the count, and then parentheses. So for this one here, the distinct, you don't need the parentheses, so you can put that inside here. Count how many distinct countries from the cities. It's going to give you a number 200. So this is all how you can count how many distinct values within each column. Besides that, you can also calculate, for example, some base descriptive statistics. You can calculate, for example, the minimum, the maximum, the average, the sum, something like that. So, for example, if we want to calculate the total population, we can do that, or the max population. So you can just max, and then parentheses. So within there, you can put in the name of the column. So the name of the column is called population. And then F5, right? So you can get the maximum population. You can also get the average. So the average will be AVG. And F5, right? You can get the average. You can also get the sum. F5, like the total population for all the countries within that spreadsheet. Okay, so next, let me show you how you can select, for example, let me do it one more time here. Select start from cities. I'm going to show you here all the country, and maybe sometimes if you want to do the sorting. So in the Excel spreadsheet, right, sometimes you can sort, for example, a specific column alphabetically. So we can do that the same here using SQL. What you need to do is to select, for example, start from cities, and then last one here, you can order, for example, I want to select order by country, right? Start from A, B, C, D. So you can order by country. F5, now you start from A, right? All the way, if you scroll down, it's going to start from A to G. You can also, this is by default, it's using ascending, right? So from A but to G, but you can also do descending. For example, we can do this one here, country by ascending, and then the population by descending. So if you look at, for example, the first 4 columns, right? They all belong to country A, F, G, but the population here, there's no particular order. How about this? We want to rank by descending order. So this one here, we go to the first, and then this one second, and then the third, number 4. How can you do that? You can do it from here, select from cities order by country, and the country is basically ascending, so it will be ASC, and then you can have comma. Basically, we're going to do it like multiple columns, so population, it will be descending, so DESC, and then F5. Okay, so now you see this one here, we have these 4 rows, country by ascending, and then population by descending. So this is nice, right? If you're doing it like in Excel, it might take some time. You need to do it by select multiple columns. But in here, it's very flexible. So you just need to change, for example, from if you want the country to be DSC and then population by ascending, you can do that as well. I can just change it easily. Now it starts from G, and then this is ascending order. This is descending order. Next, I'm going to show you how you can select, for example, based on a specific criteria. We have, if you use the select from start all cities, you're going to get all of the results. How about this? I just want to select the cities in the US, right? So what we can do is to have a requirement. So we're going to use the where. Where means if something meets a requirement, a specific criteria is going to be selected. So the US, for example, if you want to select the US cities, the country needs to be US, right? USA. So what we can do here is to put at the end, it'll be where. Where is the conditional statement. So where, and then country equal to single quotes. So make sure that you single quotes. So in the SQL, single quotes means basically wrap a string. Double quotes wrap objects or database table or something like that. So you don't want to use double quote. Let me try here. So double quote, and then USA. F5. It's going to show you here column USA does not exist. So the double quotes can be used to indicate columns and others. You don't want to use double quotes, so you need to use single quotes and then USA. F5, then you should be able to get the result. So in here we have 114 records, cities belongs to the USA. So this is how we can do the statement. You can also have multiple statements. For example, you can have like N and O. So O means here you can select multiple countries. For example, country equal to USA or, so we're going to use uppercase, and O country equal to, but in mind you don't use double equal. So in Python computer programming language, you might need to use double equal when you're trying to write a conditional statement, but in a SQL statement you don't need to. So, and then here Canada would be CAN. F5. Now if you scroll down, we have both, right? So both USA and Canada. Also keep it in mind here, right? Some USA, some Canada, you can also order, right? Whereby, and then order by country. And then F5. Now you should have C start at the beginning and USA at the end. So this is how you can select the query using the conditional OR statements. You can also select by population. So for example, N, I can just, for example, I want to select cities in the USA with more than 1 million population. This is just a sample data set. This population here might not be the real number, just let you know. And so in order to select cities in the USA and also population, so you need to use the N statement, and then population greater than 1 million, right? 60, and F5, and take a look at how many we have. 41, right? Narrow down the result from 114 to 41 results. So this is how we can query the dataset with conditional statements. You can also do, for example, there are others you can do, like for example, let me maybe remove this one. So the country USA is like all the country here has 3 characters. So for example, if we want to select a country start with EU, how can we do that? You can do that in here, country equal to single quote. So what you can do is to country not equal. There's a keyword called like, right? Country like, and then single quotes. So if you want to something start with EU, you can EU, and then the percentage. So the percentage sign represent multiple characters. So it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be as many characters as you want. In this case, we want to select all the countries. Let's start with U, and let's take a look. Execute. So we have UGA, we have USA, we have UGB, UKR. So this is how you can select something start with U. You can also, so the percentage sign can be at the beginning, it can be in the middle, it can be anywhere you like. So if I remove this one and then just maybe percentage sign and then A, is going to select all the countries that ending with A, and we can take a look. Okay, UGA, ITA, FIA, something like that. So very easy to do. If you want to have a specific character, for example, because this one is unknown, if you want to have something more specific, have a fixed length of characters, you can do that as well. And that one is using the underscore. So the underscore represent one single character, and we can maybe do S and then underscore. So this one is going to filter out all the countries with S in the middle. So we have 3 characters, right? The first one, and the last one, and the one in the middle. So we can take a look. Ooh. Near, what else? Character, what's more? Country like. One second. So let me put this and then percentage sign. Okay, so this one is starting from S, and let me do this one here, F5. So if, for example, you have underscore and S, and this is the unknown character. So this one here also select all the countries that has S in the middle of their country name. Okay, and the last 2 I'm going to show you is to select, for example, if you have a list of countries that you want to select from, you can use the keywords called in. So where country in uppercase, and then you can put in all the list of values within the parentheses, right? So for example, I want to select countries from belong, if the country is USA, and also for example Canada, and maybe the other one China. Okay, so this is how you can select from a list. The list, you can have one, you can have two, you can have as many items in the list as you want. So in this case, we're going to select all the cities in this three countries. Then if you execute, you should be able to see here the list, and this is 256. Also, you can have a between, right? So if you want to select population, so between means you can select something between the range. So what we can do here, maybe where population, for example, population between maybe 1 million, and so you'll be between two numbers, so you'll be the minimum and the maximum. So between 1 million and let's say 10 million. Execute and see how many do we get. Oh, we get quite a lot, so it's 376. And maybe you can increase this one a little bit, maybe add 10 million to 100 million, and we get a few more. So for 19 countries, 19 cities with meeting the criteria. So those are basically major mega cities in the world, and you can see from the select from and then where. So this is quite straightforward, right? You can anytime if you see the color change to pink color, those are most likely, or for the from, you might use to use uppercase. These are all the SQL reserved keywords that you want to use, and anything that belongs, for example, table name, column name, you might want to use lowercase. So those are not reserved keywords, and you can see this one here. This is, you can do it. And also, by the way, if you want to select have a multiple statements, you want to put the semicolon at the end, because right now we most are just writing very simple statements, so we don't really need to put the a semicolon at the end. But if you're writing multiple lines of statements, you will need this one, otherwise you won't be able to execute. So make sure that you use this. This is similar to different programming languages. Sometimes you might need to have colon or semicolon at the end, and if you execute, you're gonna get the same result. Okay, let me go back and take a look what else. Yeah, so it looks like we have already covered all the statements, the query in here, and this is the most basic one. We can use that to query spatial data. You can do that for non-spatial data, but you can apply this to spatial data as well. And but we haven't get into the geometry yet. This is just simply how to select to manipulate the attribute table. And in the next video, I'm going to show you a little bit more how to query the data, and also do some spatial join, and also update the table. Okay, so that's all for this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.